The Werewolf and the Yeti is probably the most deceiving title in the history of cinema. The Yeti's on the screen for maybe less than a minute, which is a shame because it actually looks halfway decent. And if I'm being honest, this is the only reason I found this movie in the first place, is because it has Yeti in the title. No, this is a Paul Naschy werewolf flick first, and a Yeti movie last. Who's Paul Naschy? Well, simply put, he's the Spanish Lon Chaney Jr. It opens up with some guys wandering around, just minding their own business, when the abominable snowman jumps out and attacks. They shoot at it, but apparently bullets do nothing to such a beast, and he's able to easily kill them both. Now, we get into the intro credits. I gotta admit, I kinda like them. How their names are slashed onto the screen. I'm not sure what the werewolf's doing here in the background, but regardless, I still like it. Next, we meet Waldemar and Sylvia. He's here to meet with her dad, Professor Lacombe, who has an interesting opportunity for Walmer. It turns out that he knew one of the guys that was killed in the beginning, and he got all of his notes. We discover that they were searching for the Yeti, and it looks like they found it. The official report says that the men died of a snowstorm, but he knows better. Despite the dangers, the professor wants to continue his colleague's work, and not only find, but capture the Yeti. They waste no time getting to the Himalaya mountains, but when they get there, they learn of a giant storm blowing through that will delay them for weeks. But, what storm? At least at the base of the mountain, it looks like a pretty nice day. Heck, even later on when they're up on the top, it doesn't look like it stormed at all. But anyway, I guess there's a storm, so we have to wait. But Waldemar's told of another way. A place called the Pass of the Demons of the Red Moon. Man, what a mouthful. Well, apparently there's only one guy who knows how to get there. His new guide, Joel.
The Pass of the Demons of the Red Moon, eh? Well, I was sure that one day I'd return to hear its howls.
Waldemar and Joel travel ahead while the rest of them set up at base camp. But it's been a few days and the men haven't returned, and for good reason. They're lost. Joel gets spooked and runs off. Some guide. Waldemar follows his footprints, but they stop right in the middle of nowhere. What happened? Did an eagle swoop by and pick him up? Well, now Waldemar's all alone, out of food and exhausted. But that's when he sees it, a light inside a cave. He stumbles in, only to pass out. When he wakes up, he sees that he's been taken in by two sisters. And they're lonely. How long have they been in this cave just waiting for a random dude to pass out so they can do, whatever this is? Well, eventually he stumbles upon them chowing down on human flesh. And he knows that he's not so lucky. He tries to escape, but the entrance has been barred up. So, his only option is to go deeper inside the cave. And that's when he finds them worshipping some skeleton-looking dude. Waldemar interrupts their ritual and fights him off, using the arrow in the dead guy as a weapon, which turns out to be silver-tipped. He manages to take them both out, but not before one of them bites him right on the chest. I won't leave you hanging on this one. The girls were werewolves, and now Waldemar is cursed as well. While all this is happening to him, back at base camp, we learn about another threat, bandits. Apparently they're all over the area, but they aren't prepared for what's about to happen. Under the light of the full moon, Waldemar transforms in a transformation scene shot very similar to Lon Chaney Jr.'s in The Wolfman. Honestly, it's not that bad. Waldemar looks similar to the Wolfman too. Probably enough for Universal to sue. But anyway, he attacks the bandits, tearing them limb for limb. While that massacre's happening, Sylvia goes for a nice walk. A bad idea, but she doesn't know a bloodthirsty werewolf is out there. What happens to her is somehow worse. This guy Norman, who's part of the expedition to find the Yeti, yeah, did you forget that's why we're out here in the first place? Anyway, Norman's drunk and comes on to Sylvia, a kid, mind you. She manages to get away, but Norman's not alone, and the Wolfman attacks. Was that seriously the best take of that scene? I'm sure the actor was like, okay, let me try that one more time. And they're like, nah, that's perfect. Let's go on, it's cold out here. The next morning, the rest of the group finds his body, and they can tell it wasn't a Yeti that killed Norman, but it looks more like a wolf. When they return to camp, they see everyone is gone except for their guide, Tiger, who's been stabbed, betrayed by his own men who got scared and abandoned him. Now the group has no choice but to give up and head down the mountain. As they go, however, they're attacked by some bandits. Sylvia manages to escape and a firefight breaks out. Eventually, the good guys run out of bullets, so they have to surrender. I just have to bring up real quick that this guy here's name is Larry Talbot. Get it? Lon Chaney Jr.'s character in The Wolfman? Seriously, how did this movie not get sued? Anyway, they're all taken back to Sekar Khan's palace, a ruthless leader feared by everyone. Like I said, Sylvia managed to escape, but the bandits are hot on her trail, and they find her. That's okay. Waldmar in wolf form takes him out, but he hesitates when he sees Sylvia. Is the gentle side of him still in there somewhere? Well, later, when he transforms back into a human, the two team up. They end up going to a monastery and learn of a cure for his lycanthropy. A red flower on top of the mountain, mixed with a young girl's blood, can cure him. So that should be easy. The priest gives her a silver dagger to use to cut herself. Only silver will do. While Waldmar's out looking for the mysterious flower, the monastery's attacked, and Sylvia is captured. It's not long before Waldmar comes back empty-handed, and he too is captured. Now we see Sekar Khan at his palace, and it looks like he's been shot several times in the back. Wandessa is there to cure him. She's some mighty sorceress, or something like that. Really, she's just a con artist, and once Sekar Khan figures that out, she'll be dead. But for now, he trusts her to heal his injuries. So anyway, Waldmar's locked up in the dungeon next to Professor Lacombe, who's soon taken away. Wandessa sees him as a threat, because he's an actual doctor that could heal Sekar, so she has him killed. She tries to get Waldmar to join her by doing the best thing a woman can do when trying to convince a man to do something, taking her top off. Take note, ladies. Well, Waldmar is able to resist and he refuses to join them. So as punishment, she shows him what will happen to Sylvia if he doesn't. Here, we see the way she treats Sekar Khan by peeling off the skin of women's backs and transplanting it onto him. Ew. Back in the girls' dungeon, they see that silver dagger Sylvia has, and they plan to use it for their escape. They take out the guard and split up. Sylvia goes to free Waldmar, and the rest of the girls take out Wandessa. As Waldmar and Sylvia escape, they get stopped by the second in command. They fight for a bit, and to no one's surprise, Waldmar wins. All that's left is Sekar Khan, and his fight is gonna be a little longer. Like the boss fight at the end of a video game, he's the final challenge. But still, nonetheless, Waldmar manages to overpower him and toss him into a pit of spikes, right next to where Sylvia's father died. Now, if they can just find that flower, they can cure Waldemar and go home. But remember the title of the movie? The Werewolf and the Yeti? So far, the Werewolf and the Yeti haven't shared any screen time. But that's about to change. It's a full moon, and Waldemar can't control himself. We see the Yeti carrying Sylvia, which I'm not really sure if he's a good guy or a bad guy. Is he carrying her away to eat her? or protecting her from Walmer? Well, I'm still not sure, but either way the two fight, which equates to mostly the werewolf just jumping around. But the Yeti does get a couple of good swats in there too. Instead of running, Sylvia just kind of stands there and watches. Good. In the end, the werewolf wins, but Waldmar is mortally wounded, and if Sylvia doesn't do something soon, he's gonna die. Just then she spots the rare red flower. She mixes it with her blood and feeds it to the beast, who turns back into a human, uncursed. And that was The Werewolf and the Yeti. I would definitely say that I was at least entertained the whole way through, and there's certainly enough here to keep your attention. Hey, even if it's crazy, it can still at least be entertaining. This is just one of the many werewolf movies Paul Naschy's been in. Night of the Werewolf, Howl of the Devil, Tomb of the Werewolf. It seems like he had a thing for playing the creature. He does a fine job, but he's no Lon Chaney Jr. When Waldmar is in human form, he doesn't seem to be as remorseful as Larry Talbot, and he doesn't really treat it as much of a curse. I also obviously wish that there was more Yeti in this picture. I mean, come on, once at the beginning and at the very end just isn't enough. They could have thrown in a few more scenes with him in it. This movie really should have been called Werewolf and the Bandits, or Werewolf and Secker Khan or something, and then have the Yeti just be a nice little surprise. But they didn't really do that, and that doesn't sell tickets, does it? You need a catchy title, and in 1975, the Yeti was still all the rage, so I get it. All in all, The Werewolf and the Yeti is a pretty good time. If you're a fan of Spanish horror, then definitely check it out. Just don't get your hopes up on seeing too much Bigfoot. I give it 2.5 horny werewolf sisters waiting in a cave for a random dude to stumble in out of 4.